Alrighty then, in this video I'm going to share with you how Jim Carrey used the system to become the incredible actor that he is today, and how he also made $10 million just using the power of his mind. So what is this system that Jim Carrey used to be unstoppable, and how can you use that system? First off, who is Jim Carrey? Well, he is an actor. He's a comedian. Maybe you've seen some of his films. The Yes Man, The Grinch, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, The Mask, and many other films. But just like so many other people in life, there is a story behind Jim Carrey. And there is one story that he's extremely well known for, and that's what I want to share with you. It's how he got paid $10 million. And I promise you, if you apply the principles that he applied, you could also be unstoppable. So you might have seen some of his films, but look, ultimately, we are all in the story making business. Have you ever stopped to think about, why do we enjoy watching films in the first place? Well, it's often because we identify with the characters. If you don't identify with the characters, chances are you wouldn't watch the film. I think what so many people do all around the world is they see these stories as separate to themselves. They don't realize that ultimately we are all heroes on the journey of life. And we often think of Jim Carrey in his films, but what about the man behind the mask? Well, you know what? He had a pretty challenging life. He was massively affected when his father lost his job. He suffered from depression, and like so many people on the road to becoming unstoppable, he had a lot of failure. He was rejected. A lot of people said he would never amount to anything, but that didn't stop him because he identified with being the actor that he actually wanted to be. Look, in life, we don't get what we want. We get what we focus on, and this is how he became unstoppable. He went to Los Angeles like so many other actors, wanting to make it, and it wasn't working for him. But every single day, he'd drive up to the top of the hill, just overlooking Hollywood, and he would take time to use his imagination to see himself performing really well, to see his life unfolding in the way that he wanted it to. And you know what he did? He actually wrote himself a check for $10 million, and he put a date on it, and he put it in his wallet. He looked at it every single day. And you know what happened? The day that the check was signed for and it was dated for, he was offered $10 million for Dumb and Dumber. Now, of course, is it as simple as that? Well, in some respects, yes, and in other respects, no, because a lot of people, what they do is they want a result, but they actually start to resist the result they want. So take a moment to think about in your life, have you ever wanted something? And you thought, you know what, I really, really, really want it. Maybe it was to get fit, to be healthy, to start a business. And maybe you started making a little bit of progress, but in your head, you started to resist what you want. You started to make excuses. Now, what was really interesting about Jim Carrey was what was driving him. He was driven by his desire to make people laugh and to be a great actor, but he was also driven away from his past because it was quite painful. Now, how does this actually apply to you? Well, in your life, who do you identify with being? You see, what we do with all of the work we do with all of our coaching clients all over the world is we teach the science of future self. We made a previous video about Jimmy Donaldson, the internet sensation, aka The Beast. And I talked about the fact that 6 years ago, he made a series of 4 videos. He applied the principles that Jim Carrey applied. Future self science, seeing the results that you want, identifying with that person, and then actually doing the work. Jimmy Donaldson, what he did is he made 4 videos 6 years ago, one to be scheduled in 6 months, one a year, one in 5 years, one in 10 years, where he was talking to his future self. When that video came out after 5 years, he went from 8,000 followers to, you know how many followers he has now? Well, when that video went out, he had 40 million, and 1 year on, today, he has 87.5 million. And by the time you watch this, it's probably 88 million because he was prepared to do the work. So you have to really get your head around the fact of what do you want and can you identify with that person? Jim Carrey was playing a big game. That's a big game to imagine 10 million. But once again, we don't get what we want, we get what we focus on. And I think we get who we focus on actually becoming. So let me ask you the question, who are you committed to becoming? In your life right now, what is wildly important to you? Because once you can identify with who you want to be, it's just like an actor, just like Jim Carrey. He identifies with the role he's going to play and he becomes that role. When we look at the science of future self, what we know is that most people have a relationship to their future. Well, we all have a relationship to our future, but it doesn't go very far. If I said, what are you going to be doing tomorrow? Chances are you can picture what you're going to be tomorrow. You can picture yourself tomorrow. But what about next week? What about next month? For most people, their view of the future doesn't go very far. I remember when I was a kid having this. If you've never seen one of these, it's Batman and Robin inside here, and I can see it all in 3D. Now and this is what we teach people, how to see themselves in 3D that go beyond a week and a month. Jim Carrey could see himself 5 years in the future with this $10 million. What about you? So let me give you a few other things here which I think are massively important. The word identity, it means the state of being the same. So you might want something, but you identify with who you're currently being. And every single day, you just keep recreating that person. And it's only when we start to change our relationship to our future that we get the results that we want. So of course, the first thing is having a new identity, but then identifying with that person and bringing that person into life every single day. And what Jim Carrey did beautifully is he did this. He applied OMS. OMS is obstacles make me stronger. He knew he was going to get a lot of rejection. He knew that was going to happen, and he knew he needed those rejections because there was something to learn. Look, I'm sure we all know this. In life, you don't always get what you want. In life, you don't always get things to be easy. It's often the challenges that we move through, that through moving through those challenges, we can go off to a completely different place and achieve so much more in our lives. I think it's so important to stop seeing these people as separate to us. They're human beings. They've chosen to become unstoppable, and so can you. Look, this is what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to take this word, WOOP, W-O-O-P. This was designed by a lady called Gabrielle Oettingen, who's one of the most well-known people in the world in visualization and goal setting. And she talks about the wish. So it's what is it that you wish for? So with Jim Carrey, he wished to be a successful actor. He identified with that. This first O is what was the outcome? Well, the outcome was $10 million. That was the outcome. It's very specific. The O is the obstacles. What are the obstacles that you will face along the way to achieving anything in your life? Now, you could actually think about this. It might be obstacles that you faced before. One of his biggest obstacles was rejection. What was the plan to overcome the objections? It was to use those objections as a way of taking something from that to learn, so that the next opportunity he would always be getting one step closer. Now is the time. I really encourage you to think about in your life the things that you want, but just wake up to the fact that you're probably resisting what you want. I dare you to write it down, just like Jim Carrey did, to see the result that you want, and then let go of the goal. Just get involved in the process. You can be like Jim Carrey. I don't know whether you'll end up with $10 million, but if you do, let me know. I'd like 10%. Or like Jimmy Donaldson with 87.5 million followers, a great life, a great business. None of these things happen by chance. They happen by design. And that is how you can become unstoppable today.